For $1 million, I bought 1 year of Cash and Shaw's life. The condition was that he had to obey me like a dog. Everyone said I was insane. I just smiled. Later, Cashin took another check, one from my father, and vanished without a trace. I was so furious I burned everything he owned. When we met again, he had become a legendary Hong Kong tycoon, while I was just a waste disowned by my family. He cornered me under an overpass, his eyes bloodshot. "Jude Hawthorne, I brought the strawberry kind. Do you want to try it with me? My name is Jude Hawthorne, the Hawthorne family's little madman." That was the label the entire school slapped on me. I wore it like a badge of honor, tearing through the hallways every single day. This time, during a game of truth or dare, I lost. The bottle was pointing straight at me. My crew of hanger-ons erupted in laughter. "Boss Jude, go confess to that kid from class 3, Cash and Shaw." "Yeah, that one, the poorest, gloomiest kid in the whole school, Cash and Shaw." I rolled the name around in my head. I had a vague impression of him. Tall and thin, always with his head down, hair long enough to hide his eyes. I heard he'd even applied for the highest level of financial aid. Like a stray mutt, I scoffed, as if I'd be scared. In front of everyone, I walked to the door of Class 3 and blocked Cashin, who was doing his homework in the hallway. He was tall. Even with his slight slouch, he was half a head taller than me. The sunlight that fell on him seemed to be diluted by his gloomy aura. "Cashin Shaw, I like you," I said it loud enough for everyone in the hallway to turn and look. Cashin glanced at me, his face a complete blank, then lowered his head and went back to his math problems. I had been utterly ignored. Suppressed laughter rippled through the crowd. The smile on my face froze. In my entire life, no one had ever dared to disrespect me like that. I was about to let a few curses fly, but my gaze landed on the back of his neck, exposed as he looked down. It was so pale. Suddenly, I had the urge to bite it, or maybe just snap it. Of course, I didn't snap his neck. I just paid a few guys from outside the school. After classes ended, we cornered Cash and Shaw in the narrow alley he took home. The alley was filthy and cramped, reeking of soured, rotting garbage. It suited him. I leaned against the wall at the entrance of the alley, taking a slow drag from my cigarette as I watched Cashin get surrounded. He had that same dead look on his face, not saying a word, not fighting back. His dark, sunken eyes swept coldly over each person. Cashin Shaw. I walked over, stubbing out my cigarette on the wall next to him, leaving a black mark. "Know why we cornered you? Because you embarrassed me today. Embarrassed you. How much is that face of yours worth?" I pulled a checkbook from my pocket and scrawled a series of numbers. I tore it out and slapped it against his face. $1 million. "To buy 1 year of your life. I want you to obey me like a dog. If I say go east, you don't go west. So how about it? A good deal, right?" Cashin lowered his eyes and was silent for a long time. So long that I was starting to lose my patience. "What, not enough?" Cashin finally looked up. "What do you want?" "I want you," I grinned, reaching out to pinch his chin. "From today on, you are my dog." He looked at me and smiled too, a slight, cold twitch of his lips. "Jude Hawthorne, are you sick in the head?" My smile vanished. I kicked him hard in the shin. He let out a muffled grunt and swayed, but he stood his ground, tough as nails. I took a steel pipe from one of the guys and pressed it against his knee. "I'll ask you one more time. Are you for sale or not? That deadbeat leg of your old gambling fiend father, or you, make a choice." In the end, Cashin Shaw came with me. I had him move into my house. My house was huge, with plenty of empty rooms. Keeping one more dog wouldn't be much trouble. I led Cashin to the room at the very end of the second floor and tossed him a set of my old pajamas. "Go get cleaned up." I sat on the sofa, watching him walk into the bathroom. The bathroom door was frosted glass, and I could vaguely see a tall, slender shadow moving inside. The sound of rushing water filled the air. I suddenly felt thirsty. I got up, poured a glass of water, and downed it in one go, slamming the glass back on the table. When Cashin came out, his hair was still dripping. The silk pajamas hung loosely on him, revealing his beautifully shaped collarbones and a patch of his pale chest. He seemed even thinner. "Come here." Cashin didn't move. I raised an eyebrow, walked over, and started unbuttoning his pajama top. Cashin froze, grabbing my hand. "What are you doing?" "An inspection." I shook his hand off, my voice casual. "I want to see if the thing I bought has been dirtied by anyone else." I pulled his pajamas completely open. Cashin's body was covered in old bruises, a patchwork of purple and blue, mostly concentrated on his waist and back. There were new injuries, too, from the alley that afternoon. I reached out, my fingertip tracing a fading bruise on his lower abdomen. At just that light touch, his abdominal muscles clenched instantly. Jude Hawthorne, he gasped, a low warning. So sensitive, I looked up at him, my smile dripping with malice. From this day forward, I declare, there will be no new scars on your body, unless, of course, I'm the one who makes them. Now, I pointed to a spot on the floor. Lie down. That's where you're sleeping tonight. It was a mattress laid out on the floor. He wasn't worthy of my bed. I slept in the bed. Cashin slept on the floor. I woke up in the middle of the night, thirsty, and got up for a drink of water. As I passed by him, I noticed his eyes were wide open. Can't sleep. I looked down at him. Can't get used to a new bed. Cashin just stared at the ceiling. Or maybe, I guessed maliciously, you're thinking about that old gambling fiend father of yours. He finally turned his head to look at me, his gaze icy. Shut up. Oh, got a temper, do we? I crouched down to his level. Cashin Shaw, you'd better get one thing straight. Who's supporting you right now? I'm the one giving you money, letting your father pay off his debts instead of getting his legs broken. I reached out, wanting to touch his face. He flinched away. Ha, I wasn't angry. I stood up, took something from the drawer of my nightstand, and tossed it beside his pillow. It was a black leather collar with a metal chain. Starting tomorrow, wear this. In the darkness, I couldn't see Cashin's expression. I only heard him grind out through clenched teeth, in your dreams, not a dream. I chuckled softly and lay back down in my bed. In the most nonchalant tone, I said, or I could just mail this to your father. What do you think? For the money, would he put it on you himself? The room fell into a dead silence. After a long while, I heard Cashin turn over. I didn't bother him anymore. After all, training a dog takes patience. When I woke up the next day, Cashin was already fully dressed. He stood by my bed, staring straight at me, his neck bare. I picked up the collar from the floor and walked over to him. Hand, he didn't move. Want me to put it on for you? Cashin remained silent, then slowly raised his hand. He took the collar and, by himself, fastened it around his neck. The sound of the metal clasp snapping shut was exceptionally crisp in the quiet morning room. Click, my heart skipped a beat. Cashin Shaw became my bona fide follower. When I went to school, he carried my bag. When I ate, he stood in line at the cafeteria for me. When I played basketball, he was on the sidelines, ready with water and my clothes. He was like a silent shadow, always 3 steps behind me. The collar around his neck would be hidden by his school uniform. But with just a look from me, he would have to obediently pull his collar down for my inspection. My friends found it all novel and thrilling. Boss Jude, are you really treating the top student like a dog? And he actually puts up with it. He'd really do anything for money. I listened to their words with a ripple of emotion. I just enjoyed this feeling, the feeling of complete control over another person, as if he belonged entirely to me and only to me. After the basketball game, I walked to the sidelines, drenched in sweat. Cashin immediately handed me a bottle of water and a towel. I didn't take them. Instead, I reached out and lifted his shirt. Beneath the sweat-soaked fabric was his lean waist, the lines of his abs clearly defined. Even more defined were the bruises all over his body, just as I thought. Is it hot? Cashin just silently pulled his shirt hem back down. I asked you a question. Are you mute? I grabbed his chin. The sun was fierce, making Cashin's skin look very pale. The stray hairs on his forehead were damp with sweat, clinging to his temples, giving him a somewhat broken look. His lips were dry and slightly chapped. It's hot, liar. I unscrewed the water bottle and poured it over his head. The cold water ran down his hair, cheeks, and neck, soaking the front of his shirt and outlining the thin frame of the body underneath. He knew damn well that wasn't what I was asking about. A chorus of jeers and whistles erupted from the crowd around us. Cashin raised a hand and wiped the water from his face. Then he asked me, Jude Hawthorne, are you very rich? This was the first time he had ever asked such a provocative question. I was stunned for a moment, then broke into a smile. Yeah, I lifted my chin. I'm super rich. So rich I can buy you from the inside out. Cashin said nothing more. He just bent down and picked up the sweat-drenched jersey I had just taken off. Then, holding my dirty clothes, he turned and walked towards the washroom. I watched his back, watched how his soaked uniform clung to him, revealing the clear shape of his shoulder blades. The nameless fire inside me burned even hotter. By the next day, rumors about me and Cashin were flying around. I couldn't care less. In fact, I doubled down. During the break, I called Cashin up to the rooftop and ordered him to kneel at my feet and peel an orange for me. His long, slender fingers meticulously removed every last bit of pith before he fed the plump segment to my lips. I opened my mouth and accepted it. The juice was sweet and sour. Is it good? He asked suddenly. I glanced at him. Then I raised my hand and grabbed his chin, turning his face toward the sun. Are you asking me? The sun made his lips look chapped, but his pupils were a bottomless black. Tusk, is he a fish, so dehydrated? I crushed the orange segment in my mouth, then lined in. Cashin instinctively leaned forward to meet me, but I immediately pulled back. All right, don't push your luck. I wiped the juice from my lips with my thumb and asked him with a smile, now you've had a taste. Was it good? Cashin paused for a moment, then grunted. Yeah, very good. The wind howled on the rooftop, blowing his soft black hair across his forehead. I lifted my foot and hooked it under Cashin's chin. Does your father hit you often? Speak. I was getting annoyed by his stare. I applied more pressure with my foot, forcing his chin higher. He frowned. None of your business. That line again. I scoffed and lowered my foot. Cashin Shaw, do you know what's most disgusting about trash? It's not being wanted, just like how your dad doesn't love you. He hits you, curses you, forces you to pay his debts, and he thinks it's all perfectly normal. Because you're just a piece of unwanted trash, and trash never believes it has any value. But then Cashin said something unexpected. Aren't you the same? I bristled, kicking him to the ground. Oranges scattered everywhere. What the fuck are you talking about? I'm not like you, don't you dare use your filthy logic to judge me. I grabbed Cashin's collar and hauled him up from the ground. Let me tell you, my parents love me to death. I get whatever I want. And you, what do you have? You have nothing but endless debt and a rotten life. As I held him up, his face was smeared with dirt and his hair was a mess. He looked pathetic, but his eyes were brighter than I had ever seen them. He looked at me and said, Jude Hawthorne, you're pathetic. I was utterly enraged. I slammed him against the rooftop railing. The wind billowed into his collar, and his uniform flapped like a bird about to fall. Say that again, I gritted my teeth. I dare you to say that again. There wasn't a trace of fear on Cashin's face. Instead, he just looked confused. I said, you're pathetic. The confrontation on the rooftop ended with my humiliating retreat. How dare Cashin call me trash? I stormed back into the classroom and kicked over a desk. No one dared to try and calm me down. Trash. Unwanted. I had heard those words my entire life. My parents' marriage was a complete and utter business arrangement. They despised each other but were forced to rely on one another. And I was the sole, awkward product of this failed marriage. They never hesitated to show their disgust for me, as if my very existence was a constant, shameful reminder of how debased they felt when they had to sleep together. I didn't need money, but money was all they would ever give me. They used it to get rid of me, to shut my mouth, to wall me off from their world, as if money was a panacea. So I decided to treat everyone else the same way. I got wasted at a bar and was picked up by the cops for street racing. Kid, call your guardian to come get you. They're all dead. The middle-aged officer in the uniform frowned and tossed my phone in front of me. Then call your family. I picked up the phone. There wasn't a single number I wanted to call. In the end, I dialed Cashin. He picked up instantly. The other end was quiet. Come get me, bring money. I didn't give him the address. I just hung up. He would find me. He could always find me. Half an hour later, Cashin appeared at the police station entrance. He looked like he'd just rolled out of bed, his hair a mess, his collar still open, revealing that strip of black leather. The uniformed officer glanced at the thing around his neck, then back at me, his expression turning complicated. Is he your family? I pursed my lips, not saying a word. After Cashin finished the paperwork, he helped me out of the station. I thought I was pathetic enough, he said as he supported me, my entire weight practically leaning on him. I never expected to be dragged out of bed in the middle of the night to bail a drunkard out of the police station. Shut up, I shoved him irritably. Cashin Shaw, you must be feeling pretty damn good, right? Seeing me like a stray dog, with no one to care for me, having to call you. Are you just blooming with joy inside? Cashin stood under a streetlight, half of his figure cloaked in shadow. He didn't speak, just looked at me. Speak, aren't you so good with words? Weren't you calling me pathetic on the rooftop today, calling me trash? I kicked him hard. Why are you playing mute? Spit it out, you think you're so great, Cashin Shaw. You're just a dog I bought with money, a mad dog that even dares to bite its master, Jude Hawthorne. What, are you cold? All my blustering rage instantly evaporated. A little, Cashin took off his own jacket and draped it over my shoulders. I didn't say you were trash. My wording was wrong, he said. What I was trying to say was, my heart aches for you, Jude Hawthorne. On the empty street, a gust of night wind blew. The alcohol hit me and my stomach churned violently. I squatted by the roadside and vomited until I was dizzy. Cashin stood beside me, handing me a bottle of water, then some tissues. Did I disgust you? I rinsed my mouth, wiped it messily, and didn't answer. How did you know I was here? Phone tracking. I let out a derisive laugh. When did you install that? It wasn't me, it was you. He looked at me. You were afraid I'd run away, weren't you? That's why you installed it on both our phones. Right, I was afraid you'd run. I stood up, swaying as I walked over to him, and tugged on the collar around his neck. So you're not allowed to run, you hear me? His Adam's apple bobbed. He managed a single sound. For years afterward, I would think back to that night. I should have made Cashin say, I won't run. After that night, our relationship seemed to undergo a subtle change. He started to manage me. When I skipped class to go to an internet cafe, he would find me. Then he'd sit next to me in silence, until I couldn't stand it anymore and went back to school with him. When I got into fights, he would rush forward, shielding me with his body, taking the punches from me. Over the past half year, I had fed him well. He was taller and stronger than me, yet he always acted as if he was mine to bully. It made me feel strange, as if I was needed by him. During the midterm exams, my parents got into another huge fight over who should attend the parent-teacher conference, and in the end, neither of them came. My homeroom teacher called me to the office, hesitated, and finally just sighed and sent me back. When I returned to the classroom, everyone was looking at me with pity. I hated that look. Cashin was sitting next to me, doing his homework, not even glancing at me. I snatched his test paper and tore it to shreds. He finally looked up, his expression devoid of any emotion. What's with the tantrum? This is me having a tantrum. I puffed out my chest at him. You got a problem with it? If you do, then hit me. His gaze flickered to my chest for a second. He didn't speak, just reached out and picked a few scraps of paper from my hair. Then he said, we have a break tomorrow. I'll take you somewhere. I stared blankly. Where? You'll know when we get there. Fine. I'll allow him his little secret. What did you bring me here for? I frowned at the dilapidated amusement park before me. A rusty lock hung on the iron gate, the walls were covered in ivy, and a giant Ferris wheel stood there, mottled with rust. I felt like I had wasted my $1,000 cologne today. My home. I couldn't help but laugh. What? Did you grow up sleeping on a merry-go-round? Cashin ignored my sarcasm, pulled aside some vines at the corner of the wall to reveal a hole, and crawled through first. Then he looked at me from the other side. I hesitated for a moment, but I followed him through. The amusement park was quiet, with only the rustling of leaves in the wind. We walked to the base of the Ferris wheel, and Cashin stopped in front of a rusty gondola. This is where my mother sold me to my father. I froze. She got pregnant out of wedlock, and her family wouldn't let her keep the baby, so she ran here alone and gave birth to me in this Ferris wheel car. I spent my entire childhood here. Later, she met my father here. He was a gambling fiend who had just lost all his money. She sold me to him. She didn't take any money. Instead, she gave him a sum and then disappeared. I asked her if she would ever buy me back. She said she would when she had enough money, but she never came back. So do I hate her? Cashin cut me off, answering his own question. No, I just don't understand why she had to give me hope. He turned his head and looked at me. Jude Hawthorne, don't devalue yourself because of other people's mistakes. I didn't say anything. Look at this amusement park. Everyone else sees it as trash, as junk, but in my eyes, it's my home. And you, Jude Hawthorne, you are not trash. Have you said enough? I don't need your self-righteous lectures, and I don't need your melodrama. I just want to know, can you start eating properly now? Cashin's gaze was calm. And stop taking it out on my test papers, he added. A new printout costs a few bucks. You motherf. Just as I was about to blow up, he suddenly took my hand. It was so warm, like being seared by a hot coal. I violently shook it off. But Cashin acted as if nothing had happened and turned to walk in another direction. He seemed certain I would follow. And I did. He led me up the tracks of an abandoned roller coaster, and we sat down at the highest point. The wind was strong, making it hard to keep my eyes open. Look. Cashin pointed into the distance. The sun was slowly sinking below the horizon, painting the entire city in gold. Skyscrapers stood tall, traffic flowed like a river, and the lights of 1,000 homes began to twinkle. Over there behind every window there's a home. Cashin's voice was soft. Most of them are better than ours, but so what? We survived, didn't we? And we're going to live better than any of them. Jude Hawthorne, he called my name again. Stop fighting with yourself. Gazing at the magnificent sunset, I felt something in a corner of my heart quietly begin to melt. Cashin Shaw, I've already bought you. Even if your mother comes back to buy you later, you can't go with her. Cashin turned his head. The evening wind swept his bangs from his forehead, revealing those ink-black eyes. She's not coming back. What if she does? What if she suddenly has a change of heart and comes back for you with tens of millions? Money makes the world go round. Maybe you'll change your mind then. Jude Hawthorne, what do you think I am? You're something I bought, an investment I made for $1 million. I didn't finish. I was just repeating the words my parents had said to me. Jude Hawthorne, you are nothing but an investment for the Hawthorne family, an accessory, a tool for carrying on the family line. An investment, that's right. So you can't have your own thoughts, you can't have your own will, and you certainly can't leave me, not even for a second. If one day I don't need you anymore, I moved closer to him, my lips almost brushing against his, and said, word by word, I'll give you a huge sum of money to get lost. But before that, you can only be mine. What if? His voice was low, almost a whisper to himself. I don't want to get lost. What? I couldn't hear him clearly. The wind was too loud. Nothing. He stood up and patted the dust off his pants. It's getting dark. We should head back. I watched Cashin walk down the steep track. The setting sun stretched his shadow long behind him. For a split second, I actually felt like he might disappear from my world at any moment, just like his irresponsible mother. Cashin Shaw, I yelled at his back. He had just jumped off the track. He turned around and held out his hand to me. It's okay, don't be scared, I'll catch you. Who's scared? I slapped his hand away and jumped down myself. We both tumbled into a pile of overgrown weeds. The grass was a bit prickly. I cursed as I got up, but when I looked down, I froze. Something had fallen out of my pocket. It was a box of strawberry-flavored lubricant, a family-sized one at that. Cashin saw it too. Amidst the wild grass, that splash of pink was particularly glaring. My ears instantly burned hot. I quickly bent down, picked it up, and shoved it back into my pocket. This isn't mine. I fucking forgot it was in my pocket. It belongs to a friend of mine. What do you mean? You don't believe me. I believe you. Cashin stood up and brushed the grass clippings off me. His palms were broad, and they rested on my shoulders with a steadying weight. You probably wouldn't like that flavor. He looked at me, a hint of a smile in his eyes. How the fuck do you know what I like? I retorted stubbornly. I love strawberry flavor. What's it to you? Nothing. He pulled his hands back, his voice unreadable. Then next time I'll buy you a different flavor. There are other flavors. I regretted it the moment the words left my mouth. Damn it, why was I discussing this with him? Cashin's gaze grew a little deeper. He leaned in and whispered in my ear, there are lots. Want to try? Mint, peach, and one that heats up. His hot breath on my ear sent a shiver down my spine. I shoved him away. Get lost. Okay, I'll get lost. Cashin complied easily, turning to leave, leaving me standing there, my face burning. What's with this guy? He's getting more and more improper. Miraculously, my grades improved. My father's personal assistant delivered a black card. Chairman Hawthorne said this is a reward for the young master. I looked at the card, laughed, and casually tossed it to Cashin, who was mopping the floor. Take it, your salary. Cashin didn't catch it. The card fell to the floor. He looked at me silent. What? Not enough? I walked over, picked up the card, and tucked it into his breast pocket. If it's not enough, I'll give you more. As long as you're obedient and take good care of me, money is not an issue. He still said nothing, just looked at me. I couldn't understand his gaze. It was like something was silently burning within it. He suddenly grabbed my hand. Jude Hawthorne, do you know what you're like? Like what? Like a little kitten that's been hurt but doesn't know how to lick its own wounds. My heart trembled violently. That night we slept in the same bed for the first time. I initiated it. I hugged him from behind, burying my head in his broad back. Cashin Shaw, I said, my voice muffled, don't go. He turned over and pulled me into his arms. I won't go, really, Pinky swear. He let out a laugh and hooked his little finger with mine. Okay. I pillowed my head on his arm, listening to his steady, strong heartbeat, and slept dreamlessly through the night. The days passed one by one, so peacefully it felt almost unreal, until my 18th birthday when my parents gave me another surprise. Jude, get ready. You're going to America next month. My mother sat on the sofa, elegantly stirring her coffee. We've already contacted a school for you there and arranged for your accommodation. It will be convenient for you to cultivate a relationship with the Song Corporation's daughter. My father sat nearby, flipping through a newspaper without looking up. The heir to the Hawthorne family can't be messing around in a place like this. Going abroad and seeing the world will do you good. I don't want to go. That's not for you to decide. My mother put down her coffee cup and looked at me, her eyes cold and appraising. This is the life we have planned for you. A planned life. Did you ever ask me? When have you ever cared about what I think? Your thoughts are not important. My father finally looked up. You just need to do as we say, and if I don't, then you'll be cut off without a penny." My father tossed the newspaper onto the coffee table. "The Hawthorne family has no place for a disobedient son like you." I looked at these two people who had given me life but treated me like nothing, and a chill ran through me. Here we go again. It was always like this. I didn't argue with them anymore. I turned and ran upstairs. I burst into Cashin's room and dragged him out of bed. "We're leaving right now," he looked at me, bleary-eyed and confused. "Where are we going?" "Anywhere, just get out of here." I frantically shoved things into his arms. "Clothes, money, take it all, we're leaving this place." He grabbed my flailing hands, frowning. "What happened?" "My parents are sending me abroad. They're trying to chain me to some woman I don't even know and dump me in another country. Cashin Shaw, did you hear me? They don't want me anymore. They're throwing me away again." I was hysterical, my voice trembling. "Cashin Shaw, take me away, please. Take me away from here." Cashin held me, gently patting my back. "Don't be afraid, I'm here. It's very late, just get a good night's sleep, okay?" His voice was steady, like a tranquilizer, slowly calming my chaotic emotions. But I never expected that after I calmed down, I would be met with an even greater despair. Cashin was gone. On the table was a check and my father's black card. The amount on the check was $10 million. Underneath was a note in Cashin's handwriting. It was messy, as if written in a great hurry, just 2 words. "I'm sorry, I went insane." I smashed everything in my room. My parents had people lock me in, forbidding me from leaving. I went on a hunger strike in protest. 3 days later, I was sent to the hospital. Lying on the hospital bed, an IV in my arm, the tears wouldn't stop. "Cashin Shaw, you liar. You said you wouldn't leave. You said you would help me win and show them. You said you had my back. It was all lies. You're just like your mother. Both of you are liars." Then again, $10 million. "It's enough for you and that old gambling fiend father of yours to live comfortably for the rest of your lives. Why would you give up such a huge sum for me? I was too naive. I actually thought you were different." I smashed the glass water bottle on the floor. I picked up the largest shard, aimed for the blue vein on my wrist, and sliced down hard. Warm liquid gushed out, quickly staining the white sheets red. In the last moment before my consciousness faded, I thought I saw the abandoned amusement park again. Cashin was standing at the highest point of the roller coaster, telling me, "Jude Hawthorne, live. I didn't die." When they found me, blood was pooled on the floor. On the 5th day after they saved me, my parents' lawyer came. He brought 3 pieces of news. First, I was officially disowned by the Hawthorne family. Second, they were expecting their 2nd child. Third, they had sold me to a man named Dino for free. I lay on the hospital bed, thick gauze wrapped around my wrist, listening to the lawyer's cold voice, and I suddenly started to laugh. I laughed until tears streamed down my face. "See, Cashin Shaw. You said I wasn't trash, but in the end I was disposed of just like it. I was taken directly from the hospital, locked in a windowless basement. It was dark and damp. The air was thick with the smell of mold. The wound on my wrist, not properly cared for, became infected. It festered and oozed, the pain keeping me awake night after night. I had a fever. In my delirious state, I kept seeing Cashin's face. He stood before me with that same cool and detached expression. "Jude Hawthorne, you're so pathetic." I reached out trying to grab him, but only grasped cold, empty air. "Cashin Shaw, you liar," I mumbled to myself. "You said you wouldn't leave." I don't know how much time passed before the door opened. A brutish-looking man walked in, carrying a bucket of water, and splashed it all over me. "You're awake? Then get to work." I was taken to a restaurant's back kitchen to wash mountains of dishes. No washing, no food. My fingers became white and wrinkled from the cold water. The wound on my wrist never healed, constantly reopening. After that, I was often hungry. When the hunger was unbearable, I would scavenge through trash cans for leftovers. One time I was caught, pushed to the ground, and my leg was broken. It hurt, but it was nothing compared to the agony in my heart. I stopped crying. I stopped fighting. I just existed, living humbly, truly like a dog. I thought about Cashin Shaw every day. I wondered what kind of life he was living with that $10 million if he had long forgotten me. If he had also forgotten those promises. Promises that he might have said casually, but which I had taken to heart. Hate was what kept me going, what kept me from collapsing. I thought I must live, at least until the day I see him again, to ask him why. And then to kill him. 5 years later, with a lame leg, I had been sold and resold multiple times. I ended up washing dishes in the back of a Hong Kong-style tea restaurant. The noise from the main dining hall filtered through a layer of glass, muffled and indistinct. It wasn't until I was carrying a stack of clean plates, limping through the curtain, that a few clear words of conversation reached my ears. "Did you hear? That Mr. Shaw from Hong Kong, he's here this time to buy up that piece of land in the East District." Which Mr. Shaw? Who else could it be? The one who made his fortune in just a few years. Cashin Shaw. I heard he's from around here, and his methods are ruthless. My hands, holding the plates, paused in mid-air. The porcelain clattered with a sharp clang. The matron, hands on her hips, shrieked, "Jude Hawthorne, are you dead? If you break those plates, it's coming out of your salary." I ignored her, staring intently at the table of customers who had been talking. Who did you just say?" The men, unnerved by my stare, waved their hands impatiently. "What's a lame O like you asking so many questions for? Get back to your work." I slammed the plates down on a nearby table and limped over. I pulled a few crumpled bills from my pocket and slapped them on their table. "Tell me where he is." The man looked at the money, then at me, and scoffed. "With this little cash, you want to buy information on Mr. Shaw?" "Dream on." I didn't speak, just stared at him. The man grew uneasy under my gaze and finally, reluctantly, spat out an address. "Victoria Harbor, the Voyager cruise ship. He has a private party tonight." I took my money back and turned to leave. The matron screamed behind me, "Jude Hawthorne, if you dare skip work, you can forget about this month's salary." I didn't look back. Salary? I no longer cared about anything. "Cashin Shaw, I'm finally going to see you." The night wind at Victoria Harbor whipped my thin clothes around me. I stood with my lame leg in the darkest corner of the pier, watching the brightly lit Voyager cruise ship from afar. It was like a crystal palace floating on the sea, separating two different worlds. I couldn't even get close. I was stopped at the entrance by security guards in black suits. Their eyes were filled with unconcealed disdain and a desire to drive me away. "Sir, this is a private party. Please leave." I didn't argue, just silently retreated to a corner out of their sight. And then I saw Cashin Shaw. He was surrounded by a crowd as he stepped out of a black Rolls-Royce. He was still so handsome. So handsome, it was blinding. Camera flashes flickered around him as he walked calmly up the gangway, his figure disappearing into the brilliant lights. From beginning to end, he never once glanced in my direction. I looked down at my own hands, coarse and deformed from years of soaking in grease, and at the ugly, centipede-like scar that snaked across the veins on my wrist. 5 years. The hatred that had kept me alive for so long suddenly transformed into a huge, uncontrollable wave of bitterness that rushed to my nose. On what grounds could I go see him, with this broken body and a heart that had long been crushed to pieces, to tell him how miserable my life had been for the past 5 years, to beg for his pity? He wouldn't pity me. Just like 5 years ago, he wouldn't have pitied the Hawthorne's little madman. In the end, I turned and limped away. The sea breeze dried the dampness at the corners of my eyes. He and I were no longer people of the same world. Not since the moment he took that $10 million and left. The Jude Hawthorne of today was just a cripple, barely surviving in the city's gutters, a waste who felt humiliated just appearing before him. I went back to that tea restaurant. Before I even reached the back kitchen, the matron pushed me out, bag and all. "You dare to come back. I don't support freeloaders here. Take your things and get lost." A few crumpled bills were thrown in my face, scattering on the ground. No job, no place to live. I could only go back to the underpass, to fight with the homeless for a place to sleep. 2 blinding headlights suddenly lit up the underpass. A black car stopped. I warily tried to shrink deeper into the shadows. Footsteps approached, getting closer and closer, finally stopping in front of me. A pair of polished, custom-made leather shoes, a stark, ironic contrast to my own hole-ridden, mud-caked cloth shoes. I looked up, and in that instant, my heart stopped. It was Cashin Shaw. An immense wave of panic and shame instantly overwhelmed me. I scrambled, trying to run, but my lame leg betrayed me. I fell heavily to the ground. Cashin stepped forward and pulled me up. "Why are you running?" "You don't want to see me." His voice was trembling, and his hand gripping mine was tight. I didn't understand what he had to be sad about. He was glamorous, with a limitless future. He should be looking at me now, at this pathetic state, worse than a stray dog. What part of me was worthy of his sadness? But Cashin was indeed looking very closely, and as he looked, his eyes turned red. The person he had longed for, the person he cherished in his heart, how had he been bullied into this state in just 5 short years? Being watched like this, all the hatred, the grievance, the unwillingness that I had forcibly suppressed for 5 years, completely broke through their dams. I couldn't hold it in any longer. With all my strength, I screamed at him. "Get away! Who the fuck wants to see you, Cashin Shaw? You liar, you hypocrite, you think you're so great now, all cleaned up. Does my money feel good in your hands? You mother, the insults dissolved into choked sobs. Cashin didn't fight back, just let my fists land on him with dull thuds, just like how he used to deliberately let me bully him. Do you even know? Do you know what eyes? In that moment, the pain that had been etched into my bones for years could not be put into words. 1,000 words churned in my throat, twisting and turning, until they finally formed a single sentence. Cashin Shaw, I hate you so much. But it was this seemingly insignificant sentence that made this man, a titan of the business world, break down and cry. Jude Hawthorne, please don't hate me, okay? He was trembling, choking, begging. Cashin took something out of his coat pocket and held it up to me, reverently and carefully. Jude Hawthorne, I brought the strawberry kind. Do you want to? Try it with me. No one's confession starts with a box of lubricant. But Cashin's does. If you two are going to act out your tragic love story, can you do it at home? It's the middle of the night. Are you trying to keep people from sleeping? A homeless man yelled from the depths of the underpass. I wanted to shrink back into the darkest corner, to pretend I didn't exist, but Cashin didn't give me the chance. He put the box away, took off his coat, and without another word, wrapped me in it from head to toe. What are you doing? The next second, my feet left the ground. He had swept me up into his arms. I wanted to struggle, but this embrace was too warm. I had waited 5 long years for it. I couldn't bear to let it go. Sorry to disturb you, Cashin said to the still grumbling man. Then, holding me, he walked without a backward glance toward the black car parked by the road. Outside the car window, the city's neon lights flew backward in a blur of color, like an unreal dream. It was only then that I realized, after a 5-year-long, endless fall, I had finally been caught, even if the one who caught me was the same person who had pushed me in the first place. A sour feeling once again rose in my throat. I bit my lip hard to keep myself from crying again. Jude Hawthorne, I know you suffered a lot to come back to my side. I was born an unfortunate person. You've been through so much by coming into my world. Maybe you want to leave now, but I still want you to see something. Can you? With a trembling hand, I took the diary he handed me and opened it. The entries began the 2nd month after he left me. He said he didn't dare to write in the 1st month and couldn't, because he didn't know if he would survive. October 3rd, rain. They severed my hand and foot tendons. The rehab is painful, but I miss Jude Hawthorne. I'll keep going. October 4th, sunny. She said she's been looking for me. I don't believe her. She's a liar. She's with that powerful man. I only believe in Jude Hawthorne. I miss him. Year 2, May 1st. My leg has healed, but I have no money. Not a single cent. I found her. She told me to learn business. She said my new stepfather can't have children and would be happy to have me as his heir. Looking at her, I only felt the irony. Jude Hawthorne, I miss you again. Year 2, May 10th, I went back. They sold you, and I can't find you, nor can I get revenge on them. Jude Hawthorne, I still miss you. Wait for me. Year 3, September 2nd. The bloody fights with others are awful, but the thought that every drop of blood I shed brings me closer to finding you makes me tremble with excitement. Year 4, December 8th. Jude Hawthorne, where in the world are you? The Hawthorne family is gone. Are you still angry with me for leaving? Jude Hawthorne, I miss you. Year 5, August 15th. It's the Mid-Autumn Festival, Jude Hawthorne. If I had known you would be gone for so long, I would have talked to you more. I regret it. Tears splattered onto the pages. I slammed the diary shut. As if burned, I pushed it back to Cashin. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Your hand, your leg. I finally understood why, 5 years ago after he left, my parents had so easily disposed of me. Because they knew that Cashin, the only person who could protect me, was in no position to save himself. That way they could torture me to the fullest extent, to make me realize how foolish my decisions had been. Cashin Shaw, did it hurt? He froze, and then he cried again. Cashin grabbed my hand and pressed it to his face, his hot tears falling onto the back of my rough hand. It doesn't hurt, he choked out. Seeing you, nothing hurts anymore. I wiped his tears, explaining through my own sobs, I don't hate you. I used money to buy you, to smash you, because that's what my parents did. I thought no parents would not love their own child, so I thought that was love. Cashin Shaw, do you understand what I mean? I know, Cashin kissed my lips. I love you too, Jude Hawthorne. Jude Hawthorne, I passed out, for real this time. After the misunderstanding was cleared up, I could feel Cashin suppressing his desires. He was suffering, and so was I. It had been half a year, and the most intimate thing we had done was kiss while lying in the same bed. In the bathroom, the warm water washed over my body. The person in the mirror had put on a little weight, but still so thin, That wasn't important, though. What was important was that this body was hideous. Scars from cigarettes, from whips, from being beaten. Not a single part was beautiful. I took a towel and scrubbed myself furiously until my skin was red and raw, but the scars remained, glaring and clear. The bathroom door was pushed open gently. Cashin walked in. I didn't notice, lost in regret, wondering why I hadn't been braver that day. I had even brought the right supplies. Jude, Cashin suddenly spoke, hugging me from behind, burying his face in the crook of my neck, his voice muffled. Don't do this. My body stiffened and my movement stopped. Through the mirror I saw Cashin. His chin rested on my bony shoulder, his face filled with heartache. Don't you find me ugly? Not ugly. Cashin's arms tightened slightly. Jude is the prettiest in the world. Liar. I turned, pushed him away, and tried to walk past him, but he grabbed my wrist. Let go, Jude. Cashin's voice was a little hoarse, stubbornly refusing to let go. He pulled me into his arms and kissed my lips. I didn't push him away. We'd already come this far. Whether he was disgusted or mocked me, I didn't care anymore. I even raised my arms, hooked them around his neck, and actively deepened the kiss. We kissed from the sofa to the carpet, and from the carpet to the bed. Clothes were stripped off, piece by piece. The air filled with an ambiguous tension. In that moment, a sharp pain made me suck in a breath of cold air. Does it hurt? Cashin stopped, his forehead covered in fine beads of sweat. What do you think? I'll be gentler. He began to move slowly. I gripped his arm, surrendering, rising and falling beneath him. It felt like I was alive again. What are you doing? From the scar on my wrist, all the way down? Cashin kissed every single one. Jude Hawthorne is beautiful, like a little kitten. I fell in love with you a long time ago. His voice was low, filled with a post-suppression hoarseness. So Jude Hawthorne, can you? Cashin paused, taking a deep breath as if gathering immense courage. Can you not be so good to me? I'm not worthy yet for you to feel insecure for my sake. He looked up, his gaze sincere, his love overflowing. Just be like before. It's fine if you hit me, kick me, curse at me. Anything more, and I'm afraid this is all a dream. I just thought he was sick, but why was my heart beating so fast? I wanted to say something to break the almost suffocating atmosphere, to call him a pervert, to push him away, but I found my whole body was weak, unable to muster any strength. I think maybe I'm sick too, even sicker than he is. The end.